Okay, guys, very best of luck, and over to you, Niamh.
Thanks, Mel. Felipe, I suppose I'll start off with just how you and everyone are adjusting to the return to training. Has the break had any adverse effects on the players or on the fitness and injuries and stuff like that?
Well, no. If you put it like having a 3-month break for a professional player, it's a grace, like I think they'll never get it again, hopefully. So in terms of recovering their body and so on, it's been great, and they kept on doing some fitness. So I know we kept on the baby steps to go back to normality playing rugby, but it was good for these first 3 weeks to have some change of directions. The first week was challenging because we couldn't even pass the ball. We couldn't use the ball, but the boys, I think they adapted well, and we've been progressing and building up to getting to more normal rugby. So hopefully when we come back from the break, we'll be able to play or play a more normal style of rugby. But it's been great these 3 weeks, yeah.
And you had that amazing run up ahead of the shutdown and ahead of that Saracens game that was due to take place. Would you be fearful now that maybe that momentum might have been broken?
Well, I would like to think that we'll come stronger, from this time, and I think that it's not something. I know momentum it's very important in sport, but it's about trying to get back that momentum, and it's not something that it was coincidental. We've been working and building up for the last few years to get to that momentum and to get to those that type of game that we are playing, and hopefully we can continue that when we get back to playing, playing. But we need to get back to that momentum, so. It's a challenge, yes, but welcome.
Okay, thank you, Niamh.
Felipe, good morning. Thanks very much for doing this. How difficult would you say that the last period of time has been in your experience as a rugby player and a coach? Given the fact that you normally have a schedule that you work towards, but you've had nothing to kind of plan towards. How much of even a mental challenge has it been for everybody?
Yeah, I would like to say it's more a challenge rather than difficult. It's in every aspect, and in my whole life, I found things difficult or nothing came easy. But it was definitely a challenge to try to keep not only for the players to keep fit and also for us as coaches to keep the ingrain of rugby knowledge and how you keep the guys building on what we want to do. It's I think it's not about looking what other teams or what other people are doing. It's trying to add value to what we want to do and how we want to come whenever we start playing, how we can come back better than we left in March. So yeah, it was challenging, definitely, but now we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel, with baby steps going back to training. But I think we are heading the right direction.
And how do you plan to spend your downtime? Because obviously you're together for a period of time, maybe not at 100% capacity in terms of training. Have you become a big fan of Ireland and staying at home and exploring parts of Ireland?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not moving. I think in fairness to the government and to everyone working on the front line, Ireland has done a real good job in terms of fighting against COVID. So if you see where we are in Ireland compared to the many other parts of the world, many other parts of Europe, I think we are in a privileged place. So yeah, it's definitely keeping doing what government guidelines, in social distancing, really good at hygiene, and just keeping my social crew is very entourage is very small because I've got my wife and I'm a new baby born and hopefully not making it bigger because it's you can jeopardize everything by just not following the instructions, you know. So yeah, I think it's important for everyone, not only myself. And if I can, I'll have a few days around Ireland, but not much far away, you know.
Gracias.
Yeah.
Oh, nice touch, Michael. Okay. It was well worth waiting for you to figure out the mute button. Okay, guys. Hazel Nolan, I see it there. Hazel, your couple of questions for Felipe, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Felipe. How are you doing?
Hi, Hazel.
I'm just curious, can you just give me a snapshot of how your day is different now to pre-COVID, like from leaving the house in the morning in terms of what you've got to do to prepare to go to training and stuff like that, and what's different when you get there?
Well, it's quite different, and we need to adapt. To start with, well, I wake up more or less at the same time, but I have to wait 45 minutes to go. First thing I do, I think even before brushing my teeth, I have to complete a questionnaire on an app for me to be able to get into training, you know, 45 minutes later. So yeah, it's not straight into the building. I have to wait that time and complete the app. Then when we get into the building or the training ground, we check our temperature. We make sure that everyone who is around, it's in a safe position for us not to be contagious or to be to have any problem and spread if anyone has it, to spread the virus. So we take all those protocols very seriously. And then when we are there, it's definitely we don't have common areas in the building. So I just go to the training, do all the protocols, do the training, and go back home, you know, and then work from home, all the computer stuff, the images, so it's a different way of working. But I think we need to adapt, and I don't know if we'll go back fully to where we were, but definitely we'll get closer to working, if you know, with in different aspects, like maybe even like at the moment we are transferring all the data, like the trainings through the video analysts get us all the training 3-4 hours later or 2 hours later. So it's not that we just passed a hard drive and we put it in our computers, you know. So it's different timings, but we are still doing a lot of work. Yeah.
And then in terms of the players themselves, obviously they're eager to get back playing matches and stuff, but is there any reticence or concerns in terms of when the matches start? Are you getting any sense of that?
No, in concerns in what sense?
Health and safety.
Health and safety. No, I think again, I think everyone is quite aware of the good job that has been set in place here in Ireland. So in terms of playing the interpros, and those are the games we'll start with, I think that we are all aware that they will minimize as much as they can every single risk for health and safety. So I think we are comfortable on the measures that they are put in place, and it's about respecting them and following and being strict on not jeopardizing the whole comeback to rugby. And because it's not only about us, the guys that are in the training or playing, it's about all the people that want to you know, to see rugby back on a pitch, you know. So we need to take it seriously and take all the steps, that all the suggestions coming from the government and from the protocols the IRFU has developed, you know.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Hazel. Don Swift, if you have a question for Felipe there, please.
Indeed, Felipe, just one question. Really, it must be encouraging for Leinster to see Aotearoa Super Rugby up and running, and some great games there. At the same time, club rugby in the USA has collapsed. Can you tell us what's happening in club rugby in Argentina?
Sorry, what? I couldn't get you the question.
Can you tell us what's happening in club rugby in Argentina?
Yeah, well, if it is professional club rugby, the Jaguares, they are struggling because it's obviously because of the pandemic. Australia and New Zealand, they are playing their own competition. So Jaguares is quite geographically apart or away from everything. In terms of club rugby, amateur rugby, Argentina is going through a strict lockdown at the moment because they started with a strict lockdown in March when the cases were nearly none, but now the cases start spiking up. We are in winter, so cases are getting bad there. So they went back to strict lockdown, and so there's no rugby at the moment specifically. And when I say strict lockdown, it's not like being able to go and jog and train in a park, so some guys, if they live in a flat, they'll probably become very good at jumping because that's the only thing they can do, So, and I don't know how many jumps a day you can do, but you won't be able to run that much, so it's a very, very challenging time for rugby, or for the players and the staffs and everyone in Argentina. But it's what it is,
But Aotea rugby in New Zealand with Eden Park full capacity, that must be very encouraging for you.
Yeah, it's encouraging for seeing like that rugby New Zealand went full capacity when in normal Super Rugby it wasn't that case, Now it's also the demand and the anxiety and the expectation that maybe brought that full capacity, because when you're taken off or from one day to another one, watching rugby and being able to watch rugby, and so there was so much expectation that everyone would like. I'd say if you put a cricket game, it would go to be full capacity as well. It was whatever you put there in Eden Park. Everyone would like to go out and have a great experience and experiencing sport again. And we know how fanatics they are in New Zealand about rugby. So definitely it was a great occasion and great to watch and see. And they're a good example. They were the leading ones in terms of rugby going back to full rugby games. So now it was great to see, and we are following it. Very interested.
Pat McCarry, I think you're there as well. Pat, if a couple of questions for Felipe, please.
Yeah, hey, how's it going, Felipe? Like most squads go on the contingency that there might be 20% of the senior squad having injuries or knocks, but is there a very real prospect that you'll have pretty much your whole squad to choose from in that first game when you come back?
Yeah, well, that's what we are looking forward to. Hopefully we have most of the squad available and all of the squad, hopefully, and I think that's great, because as I said, many of the guys who had little niggles or bumps and bruises, and in 3 months they all gone, and they fully recover fitness wise. So it's about getting into that game. Definitely when you start rugby and training rugby, you might come across with an injury, but that's part of the game. But for the moment, we are in a great spot,
Cheers.
Thanks, Pat. David Kelly, just in case you are back on there, and if you're
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear this time, David.
Sorry about that problem at my end. Hi, Felipe.
Hi.
Just wanted to ask you, obviously you have a strong medical background, just in terms of the way rugby is coming back, in terms of the way it's been handled overall and the protocols that are in place. Are you happy overall with the way the game is coming back?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm very happy in terms of how it's coming back, and I think it's the thing is that maybe to start with. The first week that we started was over precautious, but I'd rather go that way and then get into good habits of hygiene, of all the protocols to before training and so on, so that we get used to it. because it's all new for us as well, so that we get used to it, and then it becomes second nature. And once you become into those habits, you know that you're, it's not 100% free risk, because it doesn't exist that free risk in COVID, but you minimize the risks, and that's what we are trying to do, or what the IRFU has been trying with the government trying to do. So I'm pretty happy that we're in the right direction, and hopefully sooner rather than later we'll have at least full games and experiencing and people enjoying rugby back to normality, or maybe the new normality.
And obviously players can train in some form now, but back when the lockdown began and when there was no training possible, how difficult was it mentally, did you think, for the players at that stage?
For the players and for everyone, I think it was the challenge, and for the players, definitely, because what you want, your career it's a short career as a player, and you want to be playing games and playing, especially that part of the season was final part of the season, so you always want to be playing that part of those games. But I think that it was a good learning for us in how to there are things you don't control, you can't control, and you have to just control the controllable, and the only thing we could control was our preparation, what we could do, and it was all taken week by week. So it was a great experience for players to become more adaptable, to become more in the presence and in the now, and not just seeing when we are going to go back, or reminding that we had a great momentum when the lockdown came and blah blah blah. No, it's just stay in the present, and so it was a good learning for us as a whole group, and the guys, definitely it was challenging. And everyone did it their own way. It's not like one recipe for everyone, some guys find it more challenging to get up and go and train by themselves. Some others, they love it. Some others find it more challenging not being able to do some skills. Others, they say, okay, they just get on with it. So it's different challenges for each one. And I think they went through that period really well.
Thanks, David. Okay, guys, just coming to the end of the first session, but just offering it to the floor if anyone has any follow-up questions. Niamh, obviously you were first up, but if anyone has any follow-up questions to Felipe, happy to take them before we do a quick swap over.
You're mute, Niamh.
Or not. There's no problem either. We can crack on to the next section either.
I think it's.
Can you hear me there now?
Oh yeah, we can hear you now, Niamh.
Yeah, sorry. Just a quick, just in terms of the 28 contracts that were signed during the break, how healthy is this squad looking now? And does it maybe give you a bit of a selection headache? Is there such thing as too much choice in the squad?
No, yeah, I think the squad is looking really good, and it's. I'd rather have that headache, take one paracetamol and it will go away. But I'd rather have that headache and not being than having a headache of not having choices where to pick from. And I think that competitiveness will bring the level up of young players, of keep the level up of senior players, and it's no place guaranteed in that squad. So I think it's a great challenge, and for coaches it's all what you can ask for, having guys wanting to, and even you might have more difficult conversations, but that's part of the job, and welcome. I feel that it's a great place where we are at the moment, and hopefully the guys can push themselves and so that to get the best out of themselves,
And Leo said in an interview last month that he felt it was more like Leinster had 4 head coaches. Is there that much of a democracy in the camp, and does that place more pressure on your shoulders?
I think it's great. Leo it's a great head coach, and I think what he does, it's not that it's democracy, because obviously, but everyone can say, and it's the way it's, I would say, more than democracy. It's a very safe place for a coach, because you've been heard. You're always welcome to give an opinion. Leo is very open, but at the same time, we all know our roles, and we know that the last word is Leo's, and that's the way it is, and we are all happy with that, and I think it's, as I said, he's a great head coach in terms of giving space for us, to everyone to make our input,
Sorry, thanks so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Niamh. Final shout to anyone else, guys, in the live section before we hand over. Okay, folks. Sorry, Michael. Yeah.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah,
sorry.
fire away.
Yeah, Felipe, just in terms of the concluding stages of the Pro 14 and Europe, given that they're coming at some stage in September, those initial games back late in August, will you try to give everybody a game, to get some match time into their legs over the course of those 2 games before you hit the ground running for knockout stages of the Pro 14 and Champions Cup?
Our philosophy, I think, is to put the best team that can represent Leinster every game, and that, having said that, is just we're not just giving opportunities away just for the sake of giving opportunities. We are trying to set up the players to get into a great position for them to express and play their best rugby. So if we have to, we haven't discussed it yet to start with, but if we feel that the best opportunity, the best thing for Leinster is to rotate or give guys opportunities, or because they are there's no much difference in training between them, it will be that will be the case. But if we feel that we have to place the same team week in, week out, then we'll decide that. I think that it's not about just a set recipe, or it's just finding out what's best for Leinster in those 4-6 weeks that we'll have,
Great stuff. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, all. And that brings to the end the first section here this morning, the live section. So thanks a million to everyone for being on the call.